Princess Vela of the Astari Dominion woke up in a strange place. The ceiling above her was made of wood, real wood. She had only seen such material in museums. Her people had stopped using natural materials thousands of years ago. Her head hurt badly. Her body felt weak and heavy. She tried to remember what happened. The attack. The explosion. The escape pod falling through darkness. Then nothing. Now she was here. Wherever here was, she turned her head slowly and saw him. The alien. The human he was sitting in a chair near a fire, sleeping. His head was tilted to one side in an uncomfortable position. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were simple and dirty. Nothing like the fine fabrics of Astari nobles. Vela felt her hearts beating faster. Both of them. Humans were supposed to be dangerous. Her teachers had told her this since childhood. Earth was a quarantined world. The species there was violent and unpredictable. They killed each other over small things. They destroyed their own planet. They could not be trusted. Yet this human had saved her life. She did not understand. Vela looked around the room carefully. It was small and simple. There was the fire, the bed she lay on, a table, some chairs, and shelves with various objects. Everything looked old and worn but clean. Through a window, she could see mountains covered in trees. She was on Earth. She was actually on Earth, a primitive planet that her people avoided. And she was completely alone, with no way to contact anyone. Fear rose in her chest. What would this human want from her? In the Dominion, no one helped anyone for free. Everything had a price. Everything was a trade. If someone saved your life, they owned a piece of you forever. What would this primitive creature demand from a princess? The human stirred and opened his eyes. He saw that she was awake and sat up straight. He did not come closer. He did not touch her. He just looked at her with calm, dark eyes. He said something in a strange language. His voice was soft and gentle. Then he stood up slowly and walked to another part of the room. Vela watched him carefully, ready for anything. He came back with a cup in his hands. Steam rose from it. He walked to her bedside and held out the cup, making a drinking motion. Vela did not take it. It could be poison. It could be a drug to make her weak and obedient. She had heard stories of such things. The human seemed to understand her fear. He took a small sip from the cup himself. Then he offered it to her again. Vela was very thirsty. Her throat felt like sand. After a long moment, she took the cup with shaking hands. The liquid inside was warm and clear. She smelled it carefully. It had a light, pleasant smell. She took a tiny sip. It was just water with some kind of herb in it. Nothing dangerous that she could detect. She drank more. The human watched her drink. When she finished, he took the cup and walked away again. He did not ask for anything. He did not demand payment. He just left her alone. Vela was confused. For the next 3 days, this pattern continued. The human, whose name seemed to be Doan based on what he kept saying while pointing at himself, took care of her without asking for anything. He brought her food. Strange food that she had never seen before. Soft white grain. Vegetables in warm liquid. Pieces of cooked plant material that tasted surprisingly good. He always ate some first, to show her it was safe. He changed her bandages with careful hands. He kept the fire burning day and night because he had noticed she was always cold. He gave her more blankets. He even gave her his own thick jacket when she was shivering. Vela watched him and waited. She waited for the trick. The trap. The moment when he would reveal what he really wanted, but that moment never came. During the days, she watched him through the window as he worked outside. He fed strange feathered creatures that seemed to give him eggs. He carried wood for the fire. He fixed a broken fence with his own hands, even in cold rain. He did not complain. He just worked. One afternoon, Vela saw something that surprised her greatly. A small furry animal came to the house. It was thin and looked hungry. In the Dominion, wild animals were either killed or ignored. Resources were too valuable to waste on useless creatures. But Dohan smiled when he saw the animal. He went inside and came back with food. He shared his own meal with this creature that could give him nothing in return. Vela did not understand. Why would anyone do this? What was the purpose? On the third night, Doan brought her a bowl of something warm. It smelled rich and good. Vela was sitting up now, feeling stronger. Her wound was healing well. She took the bowl. The warm liquid inside was golden brown. She tasted it. It was delicious. Salty and savory with complex flavors she could not name. She looked at Doan. He was smiling. Just a small smile, but a real one. He looked happy that she was eating. Then he walked away to sit by the fire and eat his own meal. He asked for nothing. Vela felt something strange in her chest. Not pain. Something else. Something she did not recognize at first, in 200 years of life. No one had ever given her anything without wanting something back. Her father gave her education so she could be useful to the empire. Her servants gave her care because they were paid. Her suitors gave her gifts because they wanted to marry into power. But this human, this primitive creature from a forgotten world, gave her food and warmth and safety and wanted nothing. Nothing at all. Vela looked at the warm bowl in her hands. Such a simple thing. Just soup made from vegetables and water. But it was the most valuable gift anyone had ever given her. Because it was free. Because it was pure. Because it came with no chains attached. She felt water in her eyes. Tears. She had not cried since she was a small child. Crying was weakness in the Dominion. Weakness was death. But here, in this small wooden house on a primitive planet, with a strange human who could not even understand her words, Vela cried quietly, and for the first time in her long life, she did not feel ashamed of her tears. Doan noticed. He looked concerned. He said something soft and questioning in his language. Vela looked at him and tried to speak. Her translator was still damaged, but she had learned one word from hearing him say it. Doan, she said. He looked surprised to hear his name from her lips. She put her hand on her chest. She did not know how to say thank you in his language, so she just bowed her head deeply. It was a gesture of respect that crossed all cultures. She hoped he would understand. Doan bowed his head back. He understood that night. Vela lay awake thinking. She had been taught that humans were primitive and dangerous, but maybe her teachers were wrong. Maybe this planet and its people had something that the great Starry Dominion had lost long ago. Maybe they had kindness, real kindness. The kind that expected nothing in return. It was a strange and wonderful thought. And as Vela finally fell asleep, she felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt hope. The night sky over the Korean mountains was quiet and peaceful. Stars filled the darkness like tiny diamonds. Kong Doan sat on his wooden porch, drinking warm tea and watching the world sleep. He liked these moments. No noise, no people. Just him and the mountains. Du-hun was 34 years old. He had dark hair with some gray parts near his ears. His face showed the marks of a man who had seen too much sadness. 5 years ago, he was a military medic. He saved lives in dangerous places. But one terrible day, he lost his entire team. 7 good people died, and he could not save them. After that, Doan left everything behind. He bought a small farm in these lonely mountains and lived alone. He had a few chickens. He grew vegetables. His younger sister Yuna visited him sometimes. That was enough for him. He did not want more from life. But life had other plans for him tonight. Doan saw something strange in the sky. A bright light was falling fast, leaving a trail of fire behind it. At first, he thought it was a shooting star. But shooting stars do not make the ground shake. This thing crashed somewhere on the mountain, maybe 2 kilometers away. The sound was like thunder mixed with breaking glass. Doan stood up quickly. His heart was beating fast. He should call someone. The police. The military. Someone. But his phone had no signal up here. It never did. He thought about ignoring it, going to bed, letting someone else deal with it in the morning. But his medic training would not let him rest. What if someone was hurt out there? What if they were dying while he did nothing? He put on his thick jacket, grabbed a flashlight, and started walking into the dark forest. The path was difficult. Branches scratched his face. Rocks made him trip. But Dohan kept going. The cold autumn air burned his lungs. After almost an hour of walking, he smelled something strange. It was like metal and burned plastic mixed together. Then he saw it. A small ship had crashed into the mountainside. It was not like any plane Doan had ever seen. The metal was silver, with strange blue lines running through it. Parts of it were still glowing with soft light. Smoke rose from the broken pieces. Doan stopped walking. His mind could not understand what he was seeing. This was not from Earth. This was something from the stars. His hand started shaking, and it was not from the cold. He should run. He should definitely run. But then he heard a sound. A weak, painful sound, like someone trying to breathe but failing. Doan moved closer to the crashed ship. Near the front, he saw a door that had been blown open by the crash. Inside, there was a figure lying on the ground. It was a woman, but not a human woman. Her skin was pale blue, like the winter sky just before sunset. Her hair was silver white and very long. She wore clothes made of material Doan had never seen before, soft and shiny, like liquid silver. Her eyes were closed and dark purple blood was coming from a wound on her head. She was dying. Doan could see it clearly. His medic eyes knew the signs. For a long moment, he just stood there. His brain was screaming at him to leave. This was not his problem. This creature was not human. He had no duty to help her. If he got involved, his quiet life would end. People would come. Governments. Scientists. His peace would be destroyed forever. But then the woman made that sound again. That small, weak sound of pain. And Doan remembered something his old commander once told him. A medic does not choose who to save. We save everyone who needs saving. Dohan made his decision. He carefully lifted the alien woman into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Her blue skin was cold, much colder than a human should be. Was that normal for her kind? He did not know. He could only hope. The walk back to his farmhouse was the longest of his life. The woman did not wake up. Sometimes she made small sounds of pain. Sometimes she was completely silent, and Doan feared she had died. But each time he checked and found her still breathing. When he finally reached his home, the sun was starting to rise. Orange light was spreading across the mountains. Doan was exhausted, but he could not rest yet. He put the woman on his bed. He cleaned her wound carefully. The purple blood looked strange, but it acted like human blood. It dried and clotted the same way. He wrapped her head with clean bandages. He covered her with his warmest blankets because her body was so cold. Then he made a fire. A big one. He needed to warm the room as much as possible. For the next several hours, Doan watched over her. He did not know what else to do. He had no medicine for aliens. He had no knowledge about her body. All he could do was keep her warm, keep her wounds clean, and hope that was enough. As night came again, the woman finally moved. Her eyes opened slowly. They were strange eyes. The color was purple, like her blood, with small gold spots that seemed to glow in the fear. She saw Dohan, and her eyes went wide with fear. Pure terror. She tried to move away from him, but was too weak. She said something in a language he could not understand. Her voice was rough and scared. Doan held up his hand slowly. He tried to look as harmless as possible. "It is okay," he said softly. "I will not hurt you. You are safe here." She did not understand his words. Of course she did not, but she watched his face carefully. She watched his hands, his eyes, his body language. Doan pointed to himself. "Doan," he said. Then he pointed to her wounds and made a helping gesture. She was still afraid. He could see her body shaking, but she was too weak to fight or run. After a long moment, her eyes closed again. She had passed out. Doan sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. He looked at the strange blue woman in his bed. He thought about the crashed ship on the mountain. He thought about everything that would happen next. His quiet life was over. He knew that now. But looking at her pale, hurt face, he could not feel sorry about his choice. She needed help. He helped her. That was simple. That was right. Tomorrow would bring questions. Tomorrow would bring problems. But tonight, he would just keep the fire burning and make sure she stayed alive. That was enough for now. On the fourth day, everything changed. Vila was sitting near the fire, wrapped in blankets when she heard a sound outside. A vehicle was coming up the mountain path. She tensed immediately. More humans were coming. Would they be like Doan? Or would they be the dangerous creatures her people had warned about? Doan seemed calm. He went to the door and opened it. A young woman stepped inside carrying bags of supplies. She had long black hair tied back and wore glasses on her face. She was talking quickly in the human language, seeming cheerful and energetic. Then she saw Vela. The woman stopped talking. Her mouth fell open. The bags dropped from her hands. She made a high screaming sound that hurt Vila's ears. Doan quickly grabbed the woman and covered her mouth. He spoke rapidly in a low voice. The woman's eyes were huge and wild. She kept looking at Vila like she was seeing a ghost. After a few minutes of urgent conversation, the woman became calmer. She was still shaking, but she was no longer screaming. Doan released her. The woman approached Vela slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild animal. She studied Vila's blue skin, her silver hair, her purple eyes. Then she said something and pointed to herself. Yuna, she said. By Yuna. Vela understood. This was her name. Yuna pointed at Vila with a questioning look. Vila touched her chest. Vila, she said. Yuna's face broke into a huge smile. She turned to Doan and said something excited. Then she pulled out a small device and began drawing on it with her finger. For the next several hours, Yuna worked to communicate with Vela. She was different from Dohan, where he was quiet and calm. She was full of energy and questions. She drew pictures. She pointed at objects and said their names. She made gestures and expressions. Vela learned that Yuna was Doan's younger sister. She also learned that Yuna studied languages at a big school in the city. This explained why she was so eager to communicate. By evening, they had established a basic system. Yuna would draw something, say the Korean word, and Vela would try to repeat it. Her mouth was not shaped the same as human mouths, so some sounds were difficult. But she was making progress. Meanwhile, something was happening inside Vila's head. Her translation implant, damaged in the crash, was slowly repairing itself. Each new word she heard helped the device learn and rebuild its database. Soon, she started to understand fragments of conversation. Hungry, food, sister, safe. The words were broken and unclear. But they were there. On the seventh day, Vela spoke her first complete sentence in Korean. Why do you help? Doan and Yuna both looked at her in shock. Yuna started jumping up and down with excitement. Doan just stared, his dark eyes wide. You can speak? Yuna asked. Vila nodded slowly. My device. In head, it learns. Slow, but learning. Yuna fired questions at her. Where was she from? How did she get here? What was her planet like? Were there others like her? But Vela looked at Doan. She repeated her question. Why do you help me? Doan was quiet for a moment. He looked at the fire, then back at her. You needed help, he said simply. But you do not know me. My people and your people have never met. I could be dangerous. I could be enemy. Doan shrugged. You were hurt. You were alone. You needed help. That is enough reason. Vela felt that strange feeling in her chest again. The feeling she now recognized as something breaking inside her. Breaking in a good way, like ice melting in spring. In my world, she said slowly, no one helps without wanting something back. Everything is trade. You save my life. You own piece of my life. This is how it works. Yuna and Doan exchanged looks. That sounds terrible, Yuna said honestly.
It is normal, Vela replied.
It is how things are, how they have always been. Doan shook his head. Not here. Not with me. You owe me nothing. Vila could not accept this. It went against everything she had been taught in 2 centuries of life. You want nothing from me? Nothing at all? I am princess of powerful empire. I can give you technology, knowledge, wealth beyond your dreams. Adoan actually laughed. It was a soft, gentle laugh. I have my farm. I have my sister. I have peace. What more could I want? Vila stared at him. In the Dominion, such words would be considered insane. Everyone wanted more. More power. More wealth. More status. The desire for more was the engine that drove civilization. But looking at Dohan, at his simple life and his wooden house on his small farm, Vila saw something she had never seen before. She saw contentment. Real, genuine satisfaction with what one had. That night, after Yuna had gone to sleep on the floor near the fire, Doan did something that touched Vela deeply. The nights were getting colder. Winter was coming to the mountains. Vila's body ran colder than humans, and she was always shivering despite the fire and blankets. Doan noticed this. Without a word, he took off his thick coat, the warmest piece of clothing he owned, and gave it to her. No, Vila protested. You will be cold. I will make another fire in the other room, he said. You need it more than me. She took the coat. It smelled like wood smoke and earth. It was worn and old, with patches where holes had been repaired. It was not beautiful or valuable, but to Vela, it was the most precious garment she had ever worn, because it was given with love, not romantic love. Not the love of family or politics or gain, just simple human love for another person who was suffering. The kind of love that asked nothing and gave everything. Vila pulled the coat tight around her shoulders. She felt warm for the first time since arriving on Earth. Doan, she said. He turned to look at her.
You?
Those words are small. Too small for what you give me. But I do not know how else to say it. Doan smiled his quiet smile. Thank you is enough, he said. It is always enough. He walked away to prepare his bed in the cold storage room, leaving Vila alone with her thoughts. She looked at the coat. She looked at the fire. She looked at Yuna sleeping peacefully, trusting that she was safe with an alien in the room. These humans were not what she had been told. They were not primitive savages. They were something else entirely, something that her advanced civilization had forgotten how to be. They were kind, simply, purely, wonderfully kind, and Vela knew that no matter what happened next, we'd never forget this lesson. She would carry it with her for the rest of her very long life. The gift of language was wonderful, but the greater gift was what that language helped her understand, that kindness existed in the universe. Real kindness. Free kindness. And she had found it on a small blue planet that her empire had ignored for thousands of years. Hungry and alone. The alien princess was amazed by a human's gift. Winter had fully arrived on the mountain. Snow covered everything in white. The world was quiet and cold and beautiful. Inside Doan's farmhouse, a fire burned constantly. Vela sat near it, fully recovered from her injuries. Her translation implant was now working perfectly. She could speak and understand Korean as if she had studied it for years. It was time for truth. I must tell you who I am, she said to Doan and Yuna one evening. You deserve to know. They sat across from her, waiting. The fire made shadows dance on the wooden walls. My name is Vela of the Third House. I am princess of the Astari Dominion. My people rule over 17 star systems. We are one of the great powers of the galaxy. Una's mouth fell open. Doan's expression did not change much. He just nodded slowly. I was traveling to another system when my ship was attacked by enemies of my family. My escape pod fell through space and crashed here. On Earth, Princess Yuna whispered. She looked at Vela with new eyes. A real princess. From space, your people will come looking for you, Doan said. It was not a question. Yes, eventually. My beacon was damaged in the crash, but they will find me. It may take weeks or months, but they will come. Is that a good thing? Doan asked quietly. Vela was surprised by the question. No one had ever asked her if returning to her people was good or bad. It was simply expected. I do not know, she admitted. Yuna leaned forward. Tell us about your home. What is it like? Vila thought about how to explain a civilization that was thousands of years more advanced than Earth. My people live a long time. I am 212 years old, Yuna gasped. Doan's eyebrows rose slightly. We have great technology. We travel between stars. We have cured most diseases. We have no hunger or poverty. That sounds wonderful, Yuna said. It sounds like you are describing the good parts only, Dohan observed. Vila looked at him. This human saw more than most. You are right, she said. There is another side. In my society, everything is about power and position. Every relationship is a transaction. Every kindness has a price. Every smile hides a calculation. She paused, remembering things she tried not to think about. Children are not born from love. They are created for purpose. I was made to be useful to my father's political plans. My education, my skills, my entire life was shaped to serve the Empire. That is terrible, Yuna said softly. It is normal for us. We do not know any other way. I did not know any other way. Until I came here. She looked at Doan. Was running away when my ship was attacked. My father had arranged a marriage for me. To a powerful warlord named Tarek, he is cruel and cold. He sees me only as a tool to increase his status. If I marry him, I will spend the rest of my very long life as his property. The fire crackled. Wind blew outside, making the wooden walls creak. You were forced to marry someone you did not want? Yuna asked. Want? Vila laughed, but it was not a happy sound. No one asked what I wanted. No one has ever asked what I wanted. Princesses do not want things. Princesses do what is required. Doan stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the falling snow. Then he turned back to Vila. Double quotes, what do you want? The question hit Vela like a physical blow. Such a simple question. For small words. But in 200 years of life, no one had ever asked her. I do not understand. It is not a difficult question, Doan said gently. What do you want? For yourself. Not for your father. Not for your empire. Just for you? Vela opened her mouth to answer, but no words came. She had no answer. She had never been allowed to have wants of her own. Her desires had always been suppressed, ignored, shaped to fit what others needed from her. I do not know, she finally whispered. I have never been allowed to know. Tears were falling down her blue face. She did not try to stop them this time. Yuna moved to sit beside her. She took Vila's cold hand in her warm one. That is so sad, Yuna said. Everyone should know what they want. Everyone should have dreams. Dreams are weakness, Vela said automatically. It was what she had been taught. Dreams are strength, Doan disagreed. Dreams are what make life worth living. Without dreams, we are just machines moving through time. Vila looked at him through her tears. When your people come, Doan continued, you will have a choice. You can go with them. Return to your old life. Marry this Tarek. Be what they want you to be. He paused. Or you can choose something else. What else is there? That is for you to decide. But whatever you choose, I want you to know something. Doan's voice was firm but kind. If you want to stay here, you can stay. If you want to run, I will help you run. If you want to go back but not marry Tarek, I will stand beside you and support that choice. Vila stared at him in complete disbelief. You would do that? For me? Why? Because everyone deserves the right to choose their own life. Even princesses. Maybe especially princesses. Yuna squeezed her hand. He means it. My brother does not say things he does not mean. Vila sat in silence for a long time. The fire burned. The snow fell. The world turned in 200 years. She had been given many things. Wealth, education, power, status, beautiful. Clothes and grand palaces and servants who obeyed her every word, but no one had ever given her a choice. Until now, this simple human farmer, living alone on a mountain in a primitive world, was offering her the most valuable gift in the universe. The gift of deciding her own future. The gift of being a person instead of a piece. I do not know what I want yet, Vela finally said. I need time to learn. I have been taught my whole life not to want things. I do not know how to start. Doan smiled. You have time. Take as much as you need. What if your people do not like me being here? What if they are afraid of me? Then they will have to deal with their fear. You are my guest. You are under my protection. Yuna laughed. My brother looks gentle, but he can be very stubborn. Once he decides something, nothing can change his mind. Vela felt something she had never felt before. It took her a moment to recognize it. Safety, not the safety of guards and weapons and walls, but the safety of being with someone who truly cared about her, who saw her as a person, not a tool, who would protect her choice to be herself, whatever that self might turn out to be. Thank you, she said. Those words are still too small. But thank you. Doan nodded. Then he did something that made Vela's heart ache with its simplicity. He made her a cup of tea. The same tea he had given her on her first night? Just a simple cup of warm liquid. But it meant everything. It meant, you are welcome here. It meant, you are safe here. It meant, you matter here. Vela drank the tea slowly, tasting every drop for the first time in 200 years. She began to wonder what she might want from life, and that wondering felt like the beginning of something new, something free, something truly alive, hungry and alone. The alien princess was amazed by a human's gift. 20 days after the crash, they came. Vela was helping Yuna prepare breakfast when she felt it. A vibration in her bones, a hum in her blood. She knew immediately what it meant. They are here, she said quietly. Doan looked out the window. The sky was still gray with winter clouds. Nothing was visible yet. How long do we have? Minutes. Maybe less. Doan nodded calmly. He put on his jacket and walked to the door. What are you doing? Vela asked. Going outside? If powerful beings from space are coming, I do not want them breaking down my door. Yuna grabbed Vela's arm. What will happen? Are we in danger? Vela did not know how to answer. It depended on who had come. If it was her family's loyal forces, they would be safe. If it was Tarek's people, everything could be very different. They all walked outside together. The cold air bit at their faces. Snow crunched under their feet. Then the clouds parted. A massive ship descended from above. It was beautiful and terrible, silver and blue, larger than the entire mountain. It moved without sound, floating down like a dream made real. Yuna grabbed her brother's arm. Oh my God, she whispered. Smaller vessels separated from the main ship. They dropped toward the farmhouse like falling stars. Within moments, soldiers in gleaming armor landed in a circle around Doan, Yuna, and Vela. The soldiers had weapons pointed at the humans. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. They moved like machines, perfect and cold. Then one more figure descended. He did not wear armor. He wore robes of deep purple and gold. His skin was pale blue, like Vela's, but darker. His eyes were silver and completely empty of warmth. Terra's heart froze in her chest. Terra looked at her with an expression of mild annoyance, like someone finding a lost pet. Princess Vela, you caused us great trouble. Your father was most displeased by your disappearance. Hi, Commander Tarek, Vela replied, keeping her voice steady. I did not expect you to come personally. Our wedding was delayed because of your little adventure. I do not like delays. He looked at Doan and Yuna with obvious disgust. I see you have been living with the primitives. How embarrassing for you? He gestured to his soldiers. Take the princess. Kill these two and burn this structure. Leave no evidence that we were here. No. Vela stepped forward. You will not harm them. Tarek laughed. Little princess, you have no power here. You are my property now, or will be soon enough. These creatures are nothing. They do not matter. They matter to me. Tarek's smile faded. You forget yourself. You are a starry nobility. These things are not even people. They are animals that learn to speak. Vela felt anger rising in her chest. Hot, pure anger, like she had never felt before. These animals saved my life. They gave me food and shelter and warmth. They asked nothing in return. They showed me more kindness in 20 days than I have received in 200 years from my own people. She stepped closer to Tarek, looking directly into his cold silver eyes. They taught me something the Dominion has forgotten. They taught me that kindness without price is possible, that people can help each other simply because it is right, that a person's value does not come from their power or position. Tarek stared at her like she had gone insane. You have spent too long among the primitives. You are confused. It does not matter. Once we are married, I will teach you to think properly again. We will never be married. The words came out strong and clear. Vela surprised herself with how certain she sounded. I am Vela of the Third House. I am a princess of the Astari Dominion, and I invoke the ancient right of sovereign choice. By the old laws that even you cannot break, Tarek, I declare my decision. Tarek's face went pale. The sovereign choice was almost never used. It was an ancient law that allowed any royal to reject a political marriage, but it came with great cost. The royal who invoked it would lose status and power. Most considered it worse than death. You would throw away everything. For these primitives, I would throw away nothing that matters. I would gain everything that does. Vela turned to face the soldiers. By my authority as Princess of the Third House, I declare these humans and this planet under my personal protection. Earth is forbidden territory. No Astari vessel will approach without permission from its people. Any who harm these humans will answer to me. The soldiers hesitated. They looked at Tarek. Single quotes, his face twisted with rage. This is ridiculous. You cannot protect an entire planet. You are just one princess. One princess with the ancient rights of my house. Challenge me if you dare, Tarek, but know that my father, whatever his faults, it does not forgive those who violate the old laws. Even you, it was a gamble. Vela was not sure her father would support her, but Tarek did not know that. And Tarek was a careful man who calculated every risk. After a long, tense moment, Tarek stepped back. Very well, princess. Keep your pet planet. Keep your primitive friends. You have chosen exile among animals over a place at my side. History will judge your foolishness. History will judge us all, Vela replied. I am comfortable with my choices. Tarek turned and began walking back toward his ship. His soldiers followed. Before he left, he looked back one more time. This is not finished, Vela. We will meet again. I do not doubt it. But next time, I will be ready. The ships rose into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. Within moments, there was no sign they had ever been there. Just footprints in the snow and 3 people standing in the cold. Yuna was crying. Doan stood silent, his face unreadable. Vela turned to face them. Now that the danger had passed, she felt suddenly weak and tired. I am sorry, she said. I have brought trouble to your world. I have made an enemy who will not forget. You protected us, Doan said quietly. You put yourself at risk for us. Why? Vela smiled. You needed help. That is enough reason. Doan's eyes widened. Then he laughed, a genuine warm laugh. Those were my words. Us. I learned them from a good teacher. They stood in silence for a moment. The wind blew. Snow began to fall again. I must go with them eventually, Vela said. Not with Tarek, but back to my people. I have things to do there. Changes to make. Ideas to spread. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with inner light. This is a communication beacon. If you ever need me, hold it and speak my name. I will hear you wherever I am. I will come. Doan took the crystal carefully. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he turned and walked into the farmhouse. He came back with a small cloth bag. These are seeds, he said. From my farm, vegetables, flowers, things I grow. He placed the bag in Vela's hands. I do not know if they will grow on other planets. Maybe they will not. But I want you to have them. So wherever you go, you can plant something. Watch something grow. Remember that life is simple sometimes. Remember that small things matter. Vila looked at the bag of seeds. Such a small thing. Such a simple gift. But she understood what it meant. It meant hope. It meant connection. It meant home. I will plant them, she promised. I will watch them grow. I will remember. A small ship descended from above. This one was different from Tarek's vessels. Simpler, softer. It was her family's transport, sent to bring her home. Vila looked at Doan and Yuna one last time. Thank you, she said, for everything. You changed my life. You changed who I am. I will never forget you. She hugged Yuna, who was still crying. Then she turned to Dohan. She did not know what to do. A handshake seemed too small. A hug seemed too much. Doan solved the problem. He bowed his head deeply. The same gesture she had given him on her first night. Vela bowed back. Then she walked to the transport and stepped inside. As the door closed, she looked back one more time. Doan and Yuna stood in the snow, watching her go. Doan raised his hand in farewell. The transport rose into the sky. 3 months later, Vila stood before the imperial court. She told them about Earth, about humans, about a species that had discovered something the galaxy's great civilizations had forgotten. They measure wealth differently, she said. Not in power or gold or territory. They measure it in kindness, in connection, in love freely given and received. The nobles laughed at her. They called her foolish. They said she had been corrupted by primitives. But some listened. A few young ones. A few who were tired of endless calculation and transaction. A few who remembered, deep in their hearts, that life could be different. It was a small beginning. But all great changes start small. On Earth, Doan returned to his quiet life. He tended his chickens. He grew his vegetables. He watched the seasons change. But sometimes, in the evening, he would look up at the stars. And he would think about a blue-skinned princess who had fallen from the sky, who had learned in his simple farmhouse that kindness was its own reward. The crystal hung in his window, catching the light. A connection to worlds beyond imagination. A reminder that the greatest gifts are often the simplest ones, and that sometimes one small act of kindness can change the universe.